Hello, my name is Elwyn, and welcome to the incredibly humble beginnings of Dark and Ember Forge. I have made this YouTube channel to chronicle my journey from near absolute beginner to learning the skill and art of blacksmithing, and hopefully someday bladesmithing. I say nearly beginner because I have had one class. I took a knife making class from the awesome bladesmith Ethan Kempf at Kempf Forge. I'll be posting a link, of course. And over that time I made this knife based on a Japanese usuba. It's a chisel-edged knife for slicing vegetables incredibly thin and making the katsumaki cuts. Which I've been practicing with less successful results. Need a lot more time on that. But for a first-time knife, I've been told by Ethan and others that this is a very, very good piece. I have to say, I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun in the class, but probably one of the biggest takeaways for me was just the feeling of being so comfortable behind the forge, or behind the handle, I suppose, in front of the forge, with a hammer in my hand and shaping metal. Pretty much all my life I've had dreams of becoming a blacksmith, just making things out of steel and forging weapons especially. You know, I was the weird kid in school at recess who would be hiding out in the library reading Stone's Glossary. You know, wasn't exactly normal. Nowadays, probably be seeing a counselor, but at the time, that went. For quite a few years I collected DVDs and books, and even started collecting some tools on smithing, like this old hammer, which I've had since 2005-ish, somewhere around there. I guess not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, all of that time I was reading and researching. It was a lot of work in the head. I was so convinced, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna acquire my tools, I'm gonna get everything together, and then I'm gonna build a space, or I'm going to rent a space, or buy a space. I'm going to have this awesome shop fully outfitted with all these tools. You know, I'm going to have all this money on hand from the work I was doing at the time, which wasn't that lucrative, to buy all the stock I could need, get any specific tool that I couldn't make myself. And I was going to have all the time to focus on smithing. Of course, if you wait for perfection, you're going to be very sad because it will never come. At some point, you just have to start where you are and use what you have. Do what you can, even if you're in a dingy basement with insulation hanging off the ceiling. I haven't put the beadboard up yet. I'm going to try to work on that. Yeah. I've said a few times to friends and family that if thinking and dreaming were actual skill, I'd be a master bladesmith by now. But as the old Irish proverb says, no one has ever plowed a field by turning it over in their mind. So, with that in mind, let's stop talking and let's start doing. Following along the tradition of one of my favorite blacksmithing YouTubers, Torbjorn Ullman, I'm going to make a tool to make my project before I make my project. I have a specific project in mind, but I have no tools pretty much. I have the hammer that you saw, I have a pair of tongs, figured might as well, a couple punches and files, some random things there, a forge, an anvil, a stand I just made, quench tub. But I have very few tools. So I'm starting with the most basic of basics. I'm going to take this mystery metal, one of these 5-pound weights for like a crab trap or a buoy or even a canoe. People use them different ways, but we found these in the dirt in the garden outside. They have a bit of a ring to them. Try not to make too much obnoxious sharp noise. But this rusty pitted chunk of metal is kind of a mystery. Pretty sure it's some matter of steel. It doesn't feel to me like wrought iron. Could be. Probably just cast steel. So I'm going to clean it up, see if I can't maybe figure out part of what it is. and going to go from there. I'm going to try to use this to create a heater for my quench oil so I can get the quench oil up to the proper temperature to make a slit chisel so that I can make my project. So I'm doing a tool for my project. Got to start somewhere, right? And that's where I'm starting. I will get my gear on. As you can see, I've already changed it over to my nice old-fashioned Buddy Holly safety glasses. You know, safety first. Coming along. It is still very, very pitted. If I need to make something pretty out of this, I would be grinding for a heck of a long time. I don't think it needs to be that pretty though. We'll see where it goes from here. Now I think this would have been the situation perfectly suited for a wire brush. However, I have to say the prospect of using a wire cut brush on an angle grinder scares the heck out of me. So instead I just used a 36 grit sanding disc and did the best I can. Of course I couldn't get in this little hole where the cable was threaded through, so I'm going at it with a tiny little file. This is going to take a while, I bet. And we'll see ya. See that? Not really. I guess it is what it is. It's not that perfectly clean. I don't think it'll be a problem. As I said, this doesn't have to be pretty when it's all said and done. I just seem to remember reading that rust on metal when you go through the forge is rather unpleasant, or either that or it doesn't work too well. The problem with having read so many things over so many years is you tend to forget which information actually is real and which just sounds similar to other information you've read. I might be getting the rust mixed up with forge scale, for example. I'm going to finish cleaning this up a little bit more, clean the other one up, and then we'll be back for some fire. Have fun. By virtue of the fact that I was grinding off all that rust, which is, I guess you could say, an oxygen impurity, the oxidization of the iron there, I'm kind of uncertain what to make of the sparks. In a lot of ways, they look to me like cast iron, which would make a lot of sense for this kind of weight. So, yeah, they were more of a reddish color, a little darker than the usual bright yellow sparks you see on steel, especially any kind of carbon steel. And they were very short, not very explosive or poppy at the end, so they just kind of flew out. Though it had a bit more volume than I've heard cast iron's supposed to have. Again, I don't know. The rust could well be an issue there, contaminating it, so to speak. Now, working with cast iron isn't really ideal if you just pick it up and start whacking on it, because it's typically brittle. Now, you can normalize it to a point and then work it, which is probably what I'm going to have to do. But why do things a way that you're pretty sure is going to work when you can just try something crazy? So I have one of the scrap pieces heating up. It's getting to a point where it's pretty well red all the way through, so I'm just going to take it to the anvil and whack on it and see what happens, see if anything breaks off or not. I have spare of these, so if one gets messed up and is a little shorter, so be it. I can work with that too. Okay, that's hard as a damn rock. Well, that's hard as steel. Yeah, that is not moving at all. All right. bricks going on a fire brick and cooling off. And here we go, starting that long, slow process of normalizing. Well, a slow process when you're dealing with a chunk of metal this girthy. With cast iron, from the reading and the research that I've done, I chuckle at research, the reading I've done, it suggests that if you normalize cast iron a time or two or three, or however many magic numbers you need to do it, that you will burn off or loosen up enough of the carbon to kind of let the steel regain a little bit of, or the iron regain some of its malleability. So I am certainly hoping that works. Otherwise, I need to move to plan B a lot quicker than otherwise. But where's the fun in just giving up on something and going to try something else? No, I'm gonna fight this to the bitter end. As long as it's gonna be, I will keep trying until it becomes painfully obvious that this is not going to work. Is that the wisest course of action? Not really, probably. However, I believe that's one that will teach the most. As they say, the greatest teacher is failure. Of course, it doesn't have to be your failure. You can learn from other people's failures. That's part of what I'm hoping to share with everyone. Because I don't think I've seen any of the big smiths on YouTube and other places showing videos of them trying to do things and then completely failing at them, or having things take way longer and way more steps than normal. But we'll see how this turns out. Well, all that frantic flailing and pounding did deform it slightly. I'm new enough that I'm not 100% sure, is this just the mass of it, or does it need a second round of normalizing? Everybody I read said you need 3 or more, so, we'll try. We'll give it a second round, see how it goes, and try again. Try again until we get her done. Since I'm the stubborn sort who can't always admit when something isn't going quite right, I have been working on these heavy-duty cast iron weights, heating them up to critical temperature and cooling them down. A process you might call normalizing in a traditional smithing sense. Just letting them air cool out on a fire brick sitting on the bench, so they'll cool fairly quickly. It felt to me that every time I did that, when I'd take it back to the anvil and whack it again, they would be a little bit easier to work with. They would move slightly. I was able to deform it a little quicker. Not very big changes, but changes. Just enough to kind of give me a feeling of hope. So on the last time, I did my best to anneal them. I heated them up to the non-magnetic critical temperature, and instead of bringing them out and setting them on a brick to cool down, I left them sitting on the bricks inside the forge, capping the ends with a brick, putting another brick over the pipes to try to prevent some airflow out of there, and letting them cool down slowly. So with this, they should be as malleable as they're gonna get with my knowledge and technology. So I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to try to work on it again. I know me, and if it moves at all, I will get stuck on it. So I'm going to set myself a timer when everything's started up so that I only have a half an hour just to see what kind of movement, what I can do with it in a half an hour. As fat as this is, it will take so long to draw out into anything useful. I'm imagining after a half an hour, I'm going to say, you know, I should have stopped this and I should have went to plan B like 2 days ago. That's me. Very slowly starting to taper. All my tools falling off the forge right here. Of course, the anvil stand are distracting the hell out of me. This already doesn't want to move. It's a lot harder aiming with the blade with the hammer. Shit. Hey, it broke. Okay. Now, I get to go to plan B. I don't even have to wait the rest of the half hour to run out. All right. Well, I guess I should put these hot bits somewhere safe. Starting from this. And we ended like this. Not quite the result I was hoping for. Well, that was a fun journey, wasn't it? Of course, nothing is really a failure if you have a good takeaway from it. What did I learn? Well, I learned a couple things for sure. One, if something is just absolutely not working, set it aside, maybe do something else. I should have moved on to plan B, as I said, ages before I did. I'm wondering though, if I completely misunderstood the information I heard, or if it was said incorrectly. The phrasing of it was that as you heat it and normalize it and anneal it, it will burn off the carbon. That doesn't quite sound right to me. I'm wondering if it was meaning instead to heat it in a carbon-rich environment like a charcoal or a coal fire and carburize it, burn some carbon into it to make it a low carbon steel instead of cast iron. Or if it was just simply way too big for whatever effect was making the outside more malleable to work down to the inside. And once I started going at it with a little bit of vigor, they just couldn't hold up. Anyway, I've learned that these aren't going to work and I should just move right on to plan B. It's kind of sad because I had some things I really wanted to do with these that they'd be just perfect for. But, live and learn. So, anyway, that was it. That was my first attempt at making a video here for YouTube to share my story with people. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. Either way, if you see something that I can improve on, or just have any information you want to share, any questions you want to ask, was there something unclear, was there something awful, something good, please feel free to leave any thoughts you might have down in the comments below, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.